Today I'm going to talk about something that's so annoying. Data what? Data lake? Data warehouse? Lake house? Data mart? I don't know. It's so annoying. I mean, it feels like we got lost somewhere along the line. I mean, we all know what a data warehouse is, right? SQL Server, Oracle, Postgres, Kimball, dimensional modeling, right? Like that was a thing for a decade. Then what happened? Crazy happened. Then it was pour everything into S3, and that's a data lake, apparently. And then you throw what? BigQuery, Athena on top, Tableau. You just try to write some stuff. You duplicate data sets, transform them a little. It's still called the data lake. Maybe Parquet files, I guess. Can you still dimensional model that stuff? Probably. Is it not a data warehouse? I don't know. Who gets to decide? And what's this lake house stuff? Seriously? Silver, gold, bronze? What? I mean, it's still a staging table. I mean, I don't know. Delta Lake has changed a lot of things. Iceberg, right? Now we have this data warehouse. Isn't that what it is? CRUD and ACID tables. You can do updates, deletes, inserts. It's ACID transactions. Doesn't that make it a warehouse? You can join the tables. It acts like a warehouse. Why is it called a data lake? I don't know. Or a lake house, sorry. And what's with the gold, bronze, whatever thing? You know what? We should probably just look at their website. Medallion. How could I forget the medallion architecture? Makes me think of like track. You know, you get second place and they, whatever, give you that thing. Medallion architecture. This is what it is, right? Benefits of lakehouse architecture. Medallion lakehouse. On Databricks, Delta Lake, which I love, by the way. ACID transactions, simple data model, quick primer on a lakehouse. A lakehouse is a new data platform architecture paradigm that combines the best features of data lakes and data warehouses. I mean, duh, lakehouse, data lake, data warehouse, had a baby and called it lakehouse. I don't get it though. I mean, what makes it better? I mean, it's a different architecture in the sense of like, maybe it's a different data model, yeah. But I mean, it's the same thing. Just because it's using Delta Lake and Spark, I can't call it a data warehouse. Of course it's a data warehouse. It's where all my data goes. Into a warehouse. Why do I have to call it a lake house? I mean, bronze layer raw. It's called a staging table. I mean, really. Silver layer, cleansed and conformed data. I mean, it's like not a staging table, right? Gold layered beer, like the aggregates maybe. I don't know. Is like, you know, the cleaned up data is a silver. The gold layer is, I don't know, like the ready for consumption. Yeah, so it's like, you know, a data mart or something, right? Like aggregated data, probably. Oh, data mesh. Oh, geez. Don't get me started. Data mesh. I mean, so what's my take on the data lake, data warehouse, lake house? I mean, it doesn't matter. It is what it is to you. I mean, it sort of matters in a sense of like, yes, if you're building a data warehouse with SQL Server, building a data thing with SQL Server and Oracle or Postgres, it's going to be a data warehouse, probably. That's what people are going to call it. If you're building it in the cloud, a bunch of just files laying around everywhere, like say you're just reading CSV files and turning them to Parquets and storing them in S3, that's a data lake. Yeah, I can buy that, even though in theory you can still, you know, work on those data frames, clean it up, store it in a different spot, and call it a table, because it is. I mean, it's so confusing when you start to think about it. But I think it really depends on, it's like, what technology stack are you using, right? If you're on a relational database, probably call it a data warehouse, because that's what it is. If you're just storing files, which I've seen before, right? You just take files and store Parquet files in S3 with like some partition, time series partition, your month, day, wow, or whatever. Yeah, that's like a data lake, and it is harder to work with that. So what do the lake houses give us? They give us Delta, right? Delta Lake. They give us Iceberg. It's the taking of that concept of like, yes, the data lake is scalable. You could scale massively. You can put a ton of data in there. But then you miss out on all the other stuff we miss about data warehouses, right? Like, what do people love about the classic data warehouses, Kimball-style dimensional modeling? It's easy. It's easy to think about. It's easy to reason about. It makes sense business-wise. That's why it's still around, right? It delivers value, enables like aggregating data easily, facts, dimensions. It makes sense. It makes sense in your head. It makes sense to write code that way. So maybe that's what a lakehouse is, right? It's just that combination. It's just what they said. It's the best of a data warehouse and a data lake. Maybe they're right after all, I guess. What should you learn? I mean, you have to learn a data warehouse. You have to get the Kimball data tool. What's it called? The book, the Data Warehouse Toolkit. I mean, come on. Everybody's got to read that. It's got stuff in it you have to understand about, OLAP, OLAP. That kind of data modeling makes sense in it. You need it for good data engineering, right? So, what do you need to learn? You got to learn dimensional modeling. You have to understand those concepts. Of course you do. You really should understand data lakes. You should understand Parquet files and partitions, because they drive the world. Even in the lakehouse, partitions are important. You can't ignore them. I know some weirdos say you can, we got Lake FS, you don't need invisible partitions, whatever. You need to understand those concepts. Delta Lake's the future, right? I mean, being able to pretend like you have a data warehouse at scale with Spark on hundreds of terabytes of data, that's powerful. You need to learn all of them, but I would start with the data warehouse concepts, understand them, understand dimensional modeling, move to the data lake, understand the scaling that happens there, the types of files, Parquet, whatever, partitioning, things like that, and then move to the lake house, understand, forget the gold, bronze, whatever. I mean, it's just like a staging table and a cleaned up table, like a fact table. I mean, that's what it is. Just understand the combination of the two. How Delta Lake, for example, gives you ACID transactions at scale over hundreds of terabytes. It's amazing. It's amazingly awesome for data engineering. It's powerful for machine learning, all sorts of applications. So yeah, let me know what you think. Does it annoy you too? Data warehouse, data lake, lake house, what do you have? I have this, I have that. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Does it annoy you? Do you care? I care, probably because I've been doing it for so long. Drives me crazy. See all the marketing stuff. Confusing the issues, typically. It's confusing everyone. And don't forget, they're trying to sell you stuff, right? You have to be careful. Like gold, silver, bronze. I mean, that's 3 times you're touching the data, storing it. It costs money, compute, everything. It's how they make money. I mean, really. Probably good enough to have the first 2, staging and fact dimensions, just like we've had for decades with the data warehouse Kimball model, right? It worked. Why wouldn't it work on Delta Lake? Oh, wait, it does, because I've done it. Well, that's my rant for the day. That's the average engineer out.